Some balloons.
Hey, because you didn't buy it, it's broke. You bought the turtle.
We didn't buy the turtle.
Oh, you might have money, ask me.
We got.
The internet is its own world, so it's like you choose to take part in it and you choose not to. Like,
how do you deal with that when you're the third string and you have more media attention than most of the starters in the league?
it's like if you get too consumed by things that is its own world, if it dictate how you feel, you know, and how you view yourself, anything like that, then you just got to disconnect.
What the NFL world witnessed wasn't just another off-season clip floating around social media. It was a moment that flipped the tone of an entire conversation in seconds. What was supposed to be a relaxed, fun exchange between young stars suddenly turned into one of the most talked-about flashpoints of the off-season. The energy started light. Smiles, jokes, competitive banter. The kind of vibe you expect when elite athletes get in the same room. But then something shifted. The air tightened, the laughs faded, and nobody sitting there expected it to go left the way it did.
First time in history that a fifth-round pick has led jersey sales.
Yeah.
Nobody is watching third, fourth round as much as we've.
Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback who has lived under a spotlight since the second he announced for the draft, found himself front and center again. But this time, it wasn't about his mechanics, his arm strength, his draft slot, or even being Deion Sanders' son. This was about respect. During a live show packed with recognizable NFL names, Micah Parsons, Shiloh Sanders, and others, the setting felt competitive but controlled. Athletes talking trash, smiling through it, keeping it playful. That's normal. That's locker room culture. That's how guys test each other. Then New York Giants running back Cambo took it somewhere else. Out of nowhere, in the middle of what felt like routine back and forth, he called Shedeur Sanders broke. Yes. Broke. Not whispered, not disguised, said directly. And you could feel the room freeze up instantly. That wasn't harmless ribbing anymore. That was a shot with intention behind it. The comment came right after Cambo referenced Shedeur being on a fifth-round rookie contract, clearly trying to tie draft position to financial status.
Hey,
Because you didn't buy it, it's broke. You bought the turtle.
we didn't buy the turtle.
Oh, you might have money, ask me.
We got.
The message was obvious. You got picked later, so you're not really paid like that. It was supposed to land as a joke. It didn't. It landed stiff. It landed awkward. It landed heavy. Instead of laughs, there were side glances. Because here's what Cambo either didn't realize or ignored completely. Draft position doesn't tell the whole story anymore. Not in today's NFL. Not when branding matters. Not when endorsements matter. Not when off-field value can dwarf a base salary. And definitely not when we're talking about Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur didn't flinch. He didn't snap back. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't try to clown anyone. Instead, he gave that calm, measured look, the kind of look that speaks louder than a heated response ever could. Then he smiled. Not a friendly grin, not a "we're cool" smile. It was controlled. It was slow. It said without words, you might want to double-check before you speak. That kind of composure isn't accidental. That's built over years of living under pressure, cameras in your face, critics waiting for a mistake. That smile said everything. Check the numbers. And that's elite control. When you've been in headlines since high school, random comments don't rattle you. Cameras don't shake you. Online critics don't shake you. A quick jab on a live show? Definitely not shaking you. Shedeur Sanders has been molded for moments like this. Meanwhile, some players are still learning how to handle the spotlight when it swings their way. Let's keep it real. Calling Shedeur Sanders broke doesn't match reality. Not even close. And this isn't fan hype talking. The numbers back it up.
Being at a HBCU, coming to a Power 5, people don't respect how you play. They don't respect a lot of things you did, not because of me, because of Pops, because of Dad, because they just didn't like him. That's just what it is.
Whoa.
There he is, the next quarterback of the New York Giants.
What? Shedeur Sanders is currently the highest jersey seller in the NFL this year. Let that sit for a second. Not highest among rookies, not highest among quarterbacks, highest overall. That means more fans are spending money on his name than on established veterans, Pro Bowlers, playoff heroes, and even championship ring holders. That doesn't happen by accident. That's demand. That's influence. That's market pull. Jersey sales aren't just vanity stats. They reflect buying power. They reflect how many people believe in the brand, and brand equals leverage. Revenue share from merchandise alone can elevate a player's income beyond what critics assume based on draft contracts. In today's NFL economy, visibility equals value. Social engagement equals value. Marketability equals value. And Shedeur Sanders checks every one of those boxes. You add endorsement deals, partnerships, social media reach, and cultural impact into that equation, and the picture changes fast. Draft round becomes just one line on a page. It doesn't define the full financial landscape. That's the part some people still don't understand. The league has evolved. Players aren't just athletes, they're businesses. And Shedeur Sanders entered the league already operating like one.
Shedeur Sanders has sold the most amount of jerseys out of
Even former NFL MVP Cam Newton has openly acknowledged Shedeur's marketing presence. That's not casual praise. That's recognition from someone who understands branding at a high level. When veterans talk about a young quarterback's business impact, that means something. It means the respect runs deeper than just stats and highlights. So when that broke comment was thrown out there, it didn't just miss. It exposed a disconnect. Because in today's NFL, influence can outpace contract numbers. Star power can override draft slot narratives. And Shedeur Sanders, he's sitting right at the intersection of football production and cultural momentum. That's a dangerous combination for anyone trying to reduce him to a number on a rookie deal. When former superstars start recognizing your business impact, that hits different. That's not random praise. That's validation from people who understand how money, branding, and legacy actually work. Shedeur Sanders isn't just stepping into huddles and reading coverages. He's moving like a CEO in shoulder pads. He's thinking past Sunday. He's thinking 10 years ahead. And then the Gatorade situation dropped, and it completely flipped the entire conversation on its head. Reports surfaced that Gatorade approached Shedeur Sanders with a 3-year, $60 million offer. For most athletes, that's a no-brainer. You sign it fast, you celebrate, you post the graphic, you secure the bag, and call it a win. End of story. But Shedeur didn't rush. He didn't jump. He didn't treat it like a lottery ticket. Instead of grabbing the guaranteed money up front, he negotiated for 3% ownership in Gatorade USA. Let that sink in for a second. That move isn't loud. It isn't flashy. It doesn't trend the same way a big signing bonus does, but it's powerful. Ownership hits different than endorsement checks. 3% of a company that generates billions every year is not small. That's not side money. That's long-term positioning. That's generational wealth. That's chess while others are playing checkers. Most players chase immediate payouts. Shedeur Sanders chased equity. That tells you everything about how his mind works.
In his deal with Gatorade, that clause basically said, I'm not just here as a name or a body. I want part of what's being built off of me. I want ownership in the outcome. So that clause essentially just preserved his interest. He walked away with his corrected status in the contract, and he claimed it.
While other guys compare draft slots and argue over rookie contract numbers, he's building assets that could pay him for decades. That's why the broke comment didn't just miss. It exposed a misunderstanding of how modern athletes really operate. This isn't the old NFL, where your only income is your team paycheck. Today, your brand can outpace your contract. Social presence matters, merchandise revenue matters, licensing deals matter, equity stakes matter. Shedeur Sanders entered the league already understanding that blueprint. And here's the layer people overlook. The pressure on him has always been heavier than most. Critics questioned his draft position. Analysts debated his ceiling. Social media broke down every throw, every quote, every move. Through all of it, he stayed steady, quietly stacking wins off the field, strategically building leverage, patiently expanding his value beyond the depth chart. Also, when someone casually throws out the word broke, it doesn't just sound wrong, it sounds disconnected from reality. The business side of Shedeur Sanders' career is operating at a level many players won't touch in their entire run in the league. And the scary part? He hasn't even hit his prime yet. This moment was never just about money. It was about perception. It was about understanding the full picture. In today's NFL, the loudest voice in the room isn't always the most informed. Draft position doesn't define earning power anymore. Contracts don't define market value. Influence does. Strategy does. Brand control does. Shedeur walked into that moment calm because he already knew what others didn't. The numbers don't lie. The market doesn't lie. And ownership definitely doesn't lie. That smile he gave wasn't random. It wasn't ego. It wasn't anger. It was quiet confidence backed by facts. Some players measure success by when their name was called on draft night. Others measure it by how they position themselves for the next 20 years. One comment tried to shrink the conversation. Instead, it exposed just how far ahead Shedeur Sanders really is. Because this was never about quick money. It was never about flashing checks or posting screenshots. It was about building something that lasts. This is about generational wealth. This is about leverage. This is about ownership in billion-dollar companies instead of temporary endorsements. It's about having a seat at the table, not just being the face of a campaign. That's a completely different level of thinking. Shedeur Sanders isn't moving like a rookie hoping to survive his first contract. He's moving like a long-term investor. He's playing the biggest game off the field, the one most players don't fully understand until it's too late. If Shedeur Sanders' current trajectory keeps moving the way it is, we're not just talking about millionaire status, we're talking about a path that could make him the youngest active NFL billionaire while he's still suiting up on Sundays. Pause for a second and really process that. Not just rich, not just a high-earning quarterback. A billionaire-level athlete while still in uniform. That's a completely different tier. That's a different universe entirely. And at the same time, Cam Skattebo is on a live show casually throwing around the word broke. The contrast is almost unbelievable. The irony doesn't even need commentary. It speaks for itself. Because the Gatorade equity play? That was just one piece of a much larger financial blueprint Shedeur Sanders has been building quietly for years. Long before Shedeur took his first NFL snap, before preseason lights, before national debate shows argued about his ceiling, before social media dissected his every move, he had already secured a record-setting endorsement agreement.
But what really sets Shedeur apart
world. We're talking about a reported $125 million deal for a player who hadn't even played a single professional down yet. That number forced people to react. Analysts questioned it. Critics debated whether he earned that kind of money. Social media tried to spin it as hype over production. But Shedeur didn't flinch, because he understood something most critics overlook. Brands don't invest based on opinions. They invest based on influence, reach, market demand, and long-term upside. Corporations don't move off emotion. They move off projections and data. And clearly, major companies saw elite-level value in Shedeur Sanders. Then, things escalated fast. The moment Shedeur stepped onto the field for his first preseason action, Nike reportedly activated a special active player clause that had been built into his agreement. Just like that, the financial ceiling jumped again. His endorsement structure doubled in value, pushing total projected earnings toward an eye-popping $250 million across 4 years. That's not normal rookie territory. That's rare air. That's top-of-the-industry positioning. But here's where it gets even more strategic. This wasn't structured as a flat payout. Shedeur negotiated leverage into the deal. Reports indicate he secured a 50% cut from all his jersey sales. 50%. That means every single time a fan purchases a Shedeur Sanders jersey, half of the profit funnels directly back to him. That's not just income. That's scalable revenue. That's exponential growth tied to popularity. Most rookies celebrate signing bonuses. Shedeur engineered revenue streams. While other first-year players were buried in playbooks and scrambling to hire advisors just to protect what they earned, Shedeur Sanders was structuring his brand like a tech founder. He wasn't just accepting endorsement checks. He was negotiating ownership percentages, revenue participation, long-term escalators. That's executive-level thinking. So when someone tosses out the word broke, it doesn't just miss the mark. It ignores the entire financial ecosystem surrounding him. His approach instantly positioned him as the highest-paid rookie in NFL history from a total earnings standpoint. But beyond the money, it elevated him into a different category altogether. He became one of the most influential young athletes across any league, not just football, basketball, baseball, global soccer stars. His name entered those conversations. And here's what makes it even more dramatic. He wasn't even a first-round draft pick. Many analysts projected him higher. When draft night didn't unfold the way some expected, critics tried to use that as ammunition. But draft position no longer defines earning power in today's sports economy. The league has evolved. The business model has evolved. Shedeur Sanders proved that marketability, timing, branding, and negotiation strategy can outweigh the round your name gets called. He even outpaced top prospects like Cam Ward and Travis Hunter in total earnings momentum and brand impact, despite not being selected in the first round. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens through preparation. That happens through positioning. That happens when someone understands leverage before they ever step into a professional locker room. There's another layer people rarely mention: timing. Shedeur entered the league during a massive shift in athlete empowerment. NIL deals transformed college athletics. Social media turned players into global brands before they even graduated. Ownership discussions became mainstream topics instead of rare exceptions. He didn't just exist in that environment, he studied it. He capitalized on it. Instead of waiting for the NFL to define his value, he defined it himself. Instead of letting draft narratives control his perception, he built a financial infrastructure that made those narratives irrelevant. That's foresight. That's awareness. That's playing the long game while everyone else is arguing about the short one. And if this is how he's maneuvering at the beginning of his career, imagine what happens when performance catches up with brand momentum at full speed. That's when influence multiplies. That's when leverage compounds. That's when the gap between perception and reality becomes impossible to ignore. He defined it early. And here's the bigger picture that some people still don't grasp. Generational wealth is not built off contracts alone. It's built off equity. It's built off brand control. It's built off revenue participation and ownership percentages. The jersey split, the equity stake, the structured escalators tied to performance triggers. Those are not rookie-level moves. Those are boardroom-level strategies. While critics stay locked in on box scores and draft rounds, Shedeur Sanders is constructing something that stretches way beyond touchdowns. His portfolio isn't one-dimensional. Apparel partnerships, beverage equity, licensing structures, media exposure, digital influence. All of it stacking at the same time. So when people try to compare base salaries or rookie contracts, they're only looking at surface numbers. They're reading headlines while the real story is buried in the fine print. The real game is happening underneath. Major corporations don't hand out $125 million agreements without projections. They don't double endorsement structures without activation clauses tied to performance and visibility. They don't agree to 50% revenue splits unless the demand data supports it. Those are calculated, data-backed decisions. That's analytics. That's forecasting. That's market research confirming that the athlete attached to the deal can move product at scale. That's why this entire situation feels different. The narrative tried to shrink him financially. The facts show he's operating on one of the highest earning trajectories we've ever seen from a rookie quarterback. And here's the part that should make doubters pause: he hasn't even completed a full regular season yet. That's the pressure point. The business side is already elite. If on-field production aligns with the financial momentum, the ceiling moves even higher. That's when leverage multiplies. That's when equity becomes even more valuable. That's when contracts become tools instead of lifelines. Draft position didn't cap him. Critics didn't slow him. And one offhand comment definitely didn't define him. Shedeur Sanders isn't chasing quick checks or viral headlines. He's stacking ownership. He's stacking leverage. He's stacking long-term influence. That's a different mindset entirely. So when Cam Skattebo sat across from Shedeur Sanders and casually used the word broke, it wasn't just a joke that didn't land. It exposed something deeper. It revealed a knowledge gap. A gap between talking about money and understanding wealth. A gap between signing contracts and structuring empires. There's a huge difference between earning income and building assets. That moment made it clear who understands that difference and who doesn't. Because when you really break it down, throwing that word around casually didn't make anyone look bold. It made them look uninformed. In today's NFL, the money game has layers. Contracts are layer 1, endorsements are layer 2, equity stakes, revenue splits, and scalable ownership. That's the layer where generational wealth actually lives. Shedeur Sanders is operating at that level. If you don't see that, you're already behind. And let's talk about the fan base, because that's another factor people underestimate. Shedeur Sanders' supporters are not passive observers. They ride heavy. They've watched him navigate draft criticism. They've seen him handle media narratives. They've watched constant scrutiny since his college days. They've seen the composure. They've seen the preparation. They've seen him absorb pressure without folding. So when someone publicly questions his financial status, fans don't ignore it. They react, and the reaction online came fast. Social media lit up almost instantly. Receipts started circulating, contract structures resurfaced. Jersey sales rankings were reposted. Endorsement numbers began trending again. It stopped being about a comment and became about correcting the narrative. That's what happens when you underestimate a player who has both documented numbers and a loyal support base. The information is accessible. The figures are public. The partnerships are verifiable. Once those details started circulating again, the conversation shifted quickly. Now here's the part that shows maturity. Shedeur didn't escalate it. He didn't clap back publicly. He didn't turn it into a shouting contest. He didn't chase a viral argument clip. He stayed composed. And that calm wasn't weakness, it was control. There's power in not reacting emotionally. There's strength in letting the facts speak without raising your voice, because what would arguing accomplish? Anyone who understands the business mechanics of the league already knows the reality. The endorsement portfolio exists. The jersey revenue structure exists. The equity negotiations happened. Sometimes the smartest move is silence backed by numbers. The equity positions, the long-term endorsement structures, the brand partnerships. Those aren't rumors floating around social media. Those are documented business moves with contracts attached. Cam Skattebo should have done the homework before speaking. When you're sitting across from someone operating at a completely different financial altitude, you better understand the landscape before throwing labels around. Calling someone like Shedeur Sanders broke doesn't project confidence. It projects confusion. It shows a disconnect from the facts. And the truth is, this entire moment said more about discipline than dollars. Shedeur proved again why he's viewed as one of the sharpest young athletes in the game today. He didn't need to pull out spreadsheets. He didn't need to list endorsement totals. He didn't need to flex numbers or correct anyone publicly. His smile handled it. That calm, controlled expression said everything without saying anything. I know something you don't. That's maturity beyond his years. That's emotional control in real time. Most young players would have reacted. Most would have clapped back. Most would have tried to win the moment with words. Shedeur won it with silence. Meanwhile, trying to gain relevance by taking shots at bigger names rarely plays out well long term. The NFL is competitive enough on the field. Off the field, reputation carries weight. Players talk. Agents talk. Brand executives watch everything closely. When moments like this unfold, decision makers notice who handles pressure with composure and who chases quick attention. And that's another layer people overlook. In today's sports business climate, marketability is tied directly to professionalism. Companies invest in athletes who show emotional intelligence. They look for stability. They look for discipline. They look for control under pressure. Shedeur displayed all three in that moment without forcing it. This situation also reinforces a bigger truth. Wealth doesn't always move loud. It doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it looks quiet. Sometimes it looks like a calm smile in the middle of tension. Sometimes it looks like someone who doesn't feel the need to defend their value because the foundation is already built solid underneath them. Shedeur Sanders isn't just stacking endorsement checks. He's stacking leverage. He's stacking ownership percentages. He's stacking long-term positioning that can outlast his playing career. That level of thinking isn't common for a quarterback this early in the league. And here's the reality. The league is watching. Players recognize who moves strategically. Veterans recognize who understands the business. Fans recognize who stays composed when tested publicly. Brands absolutely recognize who represents long-term stability. This wasn't just a viral clip for entertainment. It was a glimpse into mindset. While some players focus on headlines and instant reactions, Shedeur continues focusing on structure and scale. That's why the numbers keep climbing. That's why partnerships continue expanding. That's why influence keeps growing. Momentum like that isn't random. It's engineered. Calling him broke didn't shrink him. If anything, it spotlighted how far ahead he already is in this space. It reminded people that the scoreboard isn't limited to Sundays anymore. It exists in boardrooms. It exists in endorsement portfolios. It exists in equity stakes and revenue splits. And in that arena, Shedeur Sanders is competing at a completely different level. The game isn't just about yards and touchdowns anymore. It's about ownership and longevity. It's about building something that survives long after the final snap. Some players chase attention. Others build infrastructure. Some react emotionally. Others respond with discipline. That controlled smile wasn't accidental. It was calculated confidence backed by structure. And when you understand that, the whole moment looks different. It stops being about a comment and starts being about positioning. Because in today's NFL, the real scoreboard has layers. And Shedeur Sanders is already winning on multiple levels at once.